David, welcome to the show, brother.
Shalom, Miguel. Thank you for having me.
Man, I'm excited to have you here because your story is crazy. It's amazing and it's
Yes,
beautiful all at the same time, right?
it's been quite a wild ride.
Yeah. So you're living in Israel now, and we'll get to how you got to Israel. But let's start off. You grew up Christian.
Yep,
You're an Orthodox Jew at the moment, right?
yep,
Observant Jew. So grew up
yep.
Christian. Let's tell me how we got there. Let's start there.
So this story. So I grew up in rural Maryland to parents from New York City, both black in a predominantly white area. And my parents are both very religious Christians,
Mm.
fundamentalist Christians. To this day, still come, they visit Israel, they love Israel. But Christianity just never like completely like hit me like in the kishkas. And so like I did it because you do what your parents make you do when you're growing up, and then was kind of like in and out of it, and then went to college and was done with it. And in college, I was also done with studying. Not that I did lots of studying in high school either, but like I did not do well at college. My first few times at college, which ended up changing later, which I'm sure we'll get
Mm.
to. And so quickly dropped out and needed to find a way to support myself. And I found selling drugs. It was a pretty easy thing, kind of walking around Washington, D.C. If you're black, it's pretty easy to find drugs. And if you know college kids are always looking for drugs. So I kind of put, two and two together to like start make a living because I wasn't going to go home to my parents and I had no way to support myself.
Yeah.
Which kind of led to me getting into progressively more and more trouble until I eventually ended up in federal prison for unlicensed stealing of firearms and distribution of oxycodone.
Wow. And so you were in jail, and how
Prison.
did you
Not
were,
quite the same.
what?
Prison. So remember, jail's like short term, prison's like years.
Gotcha. So you were in prison. All right, gotcha. So it was for real. Um, and how did you find Judaism? How did Judaism find you essentially?
Yeah. I mean, it was such. So there's two stories to this. I like to tell them both now. I didn't know about the second one until more recently.
Okay.
So the first one is what I lived through, which is kind of I'm in prison, and prison is terrible. And for me, and for most people, the worst part is the boredom. So you're finding ways to keep yourself busy. And so I kind of was working on a schedule and was in the library one day, and the compound was locked down. Now, when the compound's locked down, you're stuck for sometimes a few hours, sometimes lots of hours. They don't tell us anything because we're the inmates. So I'm in the library and I'm waiting to kind of go do my next thing, and I'm just stuck. And I'm walking around, everyone's frustrated, and I see one guy who's just kind of sitting quietly studying. So I walk by the desk and kind of look and see a bunch of letters I don't recognize in some foreign language, kind of keep on going. More time passes. Eventually, I walk by again. I sit down and I go, "Hey, like, what's up? Like, what are you reading over there?" And he tells me that he's reading the Torah, the five books of Moses. And then I looked at the page again and asked a question. And this question ended up really changing the course of my entire life. And what I looked and saw was on the bottom of the page, there are all these kind of boxes, like a weird typeset thing. So I ask about them, and he gives me the idea of Persian, kind of different rabbis throughout the ages explaining what the actual verses mean. And he tells me like this guy says this guy says this guy says this guy has no idea what he's talking about, this guy's, and it's just like, and he explains that this is like the traditional Jewish way of like studying like the Bible. And that really blew my mind because the
Mm.
way I'd always interacted with religion is you read it, it means what the guy on the pulpit says it means, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of seeing this kind of dialogue and conversation and debate around what it meant. And that kind of sparked my interest because that wasn't like other religions at all. And then I started reading more about Judaism, talking to some guys on the pound who were Jewish, and found out more things. And it eventually just spoke to me and was like, you know what, this is for me. And I decided that one day I would be an Orthodox Jew.
Amazing. And I want to get into more of that, but first I want to talk about you said that the worst thing is boredom. What about
Yes.
fear in prison? I mean, you were not afraid. It wasn't.
So there are certain times when you are afraid, but the dominant thing is just boredom. I mean, most of the time you're in super safe places and you're just there for like hours or days with nothing to do. And I mean, I like to tell people, think about Corona. How bored did you get in your house with your smartphone and your TV? Imagine being in a cell by yourself for like 72 hours on intake to a facility.
Yeah, no
Like
phone,
that's
no TV.
yeah, no books. Yeah,
Crazy.
no running wild. Yeah, you're just sitting looking at a gray wall
That's why everyone
or
gets so
being
jacked because they just do push-ups because they're bored, I'm guessing, right?
I mean, or they get very out of shape. Like when
Yeah,
guys go to the SHU, the secure housing unit, like they either come back in much better shape or much worse shape. But
gotcha.
you don't come out like you went in.
Yeah, and that's perspective, I guess, right? Some people take it to their advantage, some people just get fat. So you
Yep.
said I wanted to become an Orthodox Jew. Was there guilt, doubt? Your parents are fundamental Christians, very religious themselves. Was there, I mean, I fear my mother. Was there fear of like telling, telling your mom? I'd be more afraid of my mom than prison. But was there fear of telling your mom, your dad, what what you were
So
thinking?
at that time, we weren't so close, so not
Gotcha.
really. I was kind of completely separate doing my other thing. But that does remind me of the second story, which I almost forgot. So when I was younger, my mother did some programming for the public school we went to and became friends with a Holocaust survivor,
Mm.
Nessie Golden. And they kind of became friends, and I later found out that she was praying for me every single day I was in prison. So just like, oh, I've got a Holocaust survivor praying for me every day in prison and come out Jewish. There's got to be something there.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's beautiful. So, you're in prison. When do you get let out? You're in at 23. How long afterward are you let out?
So I do 30 months, I come out 25.
25. So 25 years old, they hand you your stuff back. You're out back on the street. And did you start looking for Judaism? Did you go back to selling drugs? Like, what is it that happened
Yeah.
right when you walked out?
So walked out is not exactly how it works. The first thing you do is you get sent from the actual federal facility to a halfway house.
Okay.
We were saying about the halfway house. It's halfway in, not halfway out.
Mm,
So I get to the halfway house. I'm released from Petersburg, Virginia, get on a bus to Baltimore, Maryland, transport myself, arrive to the halfway house, and the first thing that happens is I get locked down for 3 days because I'm a security risk by
oh,
virtue of having arrived, because that is the policy, which you kind of get used to those type of things.
yeah.
And the first day, and so you can't leave whenever you want. You're basically in, and if you want to leave for a specific reason, you're allowed to write a written request to your counselor, which your counselor can then approve a day beforehand. And with that written request, you can use it to leave the compound for the specific amount of time listed, and you need to be back before the time listed. Otherwise, you can get sent back to real prison. So again, it's like still very strict rules. But you are entitled to every week a religious visit. So I told my counselor I wanted to go to a synagogue. He looked up a synagogue, and my first trip out of the halfway house was to a synagogue in downtown Baltimore, B'nai Israel congregation, who were incredible. I'm actually right now planning a trip there. I'm still close with the current rabbi over there. The first guy who I met when I showed up the first day, Fred, just such a wonderful human being. I came in there, opens the door, shows me around, so nice, kindest man ever. I still talk to him every time I get back to Baltimore, and occasionally, like he checks in a little bit more recently because people check in more often when there's like war going on, but like I'm still in contact with that community, and they are amazing.
So you walk in for the first time there and you say, what? You're like, I want to be a Jew. Like, I want to study. I want to talk to the rabbi.
So I show up the first time, and sit in the back, watch the services, and then at the end, I go to the rabbi and say, I want to convert. And he says, sorry, can't help you.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I know this like shtick, but like I'm really serious about converting. Like people,
If you're going to say no three times to me, yeah,
yeah. And then he says, no, it's not that at all. The thing is, in 3 or 4 months, I'm moving to Israel, making Aliyah. The
Mm.
process is going to take you at least a year. You need the same rabbi to guide you through the whole process. So if you're serious about this, keep coming, and I'll put in a good word when the new rabbi comes. So, and that was Rabbi, I'm blanking on his name now, but the new rabbi who came in was Rabbi Eitan Mintz, who, again, I'm still close to this day, still talk to, still go back and visit. And he came, and I did the conversion. It took more than a year, ended up taking about 4 or 5 years
Wow.
because just I was very busy for the time I was in Baltimore.
Yeah. Gotcha. So you're learning, you're growing. Was there ever a doubt in your mind, like, hey, this is not the right thing? Like all these laws, all these things. I mean, or was it just so deep inside you that you know this is what you wanted that you just kept moving forward?
Yeah, I'd already made the decision and I just kept moving forward. Again, like slowly but steadily, again, it ended up taking 5 years. Like they let you take, at least this rabbi let me take the time I took, and I hear that's pretty normal through the process. Like it
Yeah.
can be done in 9 months a year, but like really you need to like I love the way that my rabbi explained it, where he said, basically, by the end of the conversion process, you need to be comfortable kind of showing up in any Orthodox community in the world and just like following through and getting along and not offending everyone and knowing what's going on, which is like a lot of information. But like, if you learn some Hebrew, you learn the prayers, you learn some of the customs, it's not impossible to do if you're studying and working at it.
Love it. And so also, I read that when you got out, you started working as a trainer.
Yeah. So that was a big part of the reason it took so long because the number one thing I had to work on was getting a job. Kind of,
Yeah.
I came out, I had less than $20 to my name. I had no college degree, no real work experience, no support system, and I had to figure out how to not end up homeless by the time my time at the halfway house was done.
Mhm.
And getting a job with a criminal record is an incredibly tough, incredibly disheartening experience. I always remember like I had a strategy which was kind of on job application. So at that time, they still had the law on the books where every job application could have, do you have a criminal record? Like yes or no, and explain why,
Yeah.
which they've
Yeah.
since changed
Yeah.
in Maryland at least. And my strategy was check the box because I'm legally required to tell the truth and say we'll explain at the interview. You go into an interview, things are going well, people get to that and like ask about it, and then I say, drugs and guns, and you just see them like break eye contact. They'll like start mumbling really fast, and then get me out of the office as quickly as possible. It's like you're standing talking to a person, and all of a sudden you're like a dangerous dog they've got to get away from.
Now, let
And
me
of
ask you this
course,
question real quick. Did your faith or your conversion process help you with the mindset of to keep moving forward with all that was happening to you?
it helped give me a place of stability, which
Mm,
was so important during that time. Kind of, all week I'm sitting at applications not getting answered to, going to interviews and kind of just feeling, embarrassed and ashamed and like this will never work out. And then once a week I get to go to a place, everyone's smiling, everyone's nice to me, there's food. Like I couldn't afford to feed myself really. I was
yeah,
kind of like it was a very tough time, and
yeah.
that meant
I
a
can't
lot.
even. Yeah, and I love the fact that you just kept moving forward and you kept, um, growing in your faith while you were trying to figure out the rest of your life, which is incredible,
Yeah.
incredible. So, so you get a job as a trainer, you start training people. You're
Mhm.
going through your conversion. What's happening with your parents at that moment in your family?
So at to get to that, we have to go through the training career first, because that kind of
Okay.
leads back to my parents. So I finally, after a long time, managed to get a job as a personal trainer with a gym that just had a long hiring process, and no one ever asked me what the criminal record was about. So I kind of
Mm,
like slipped through the cracks because they
correct.
didn't ask the question. Everyone thought someone else asked the question, and I was pretty much successful as a personal trainer like immediately. I was the fastest full-time trainer in the company's history. Within 9 months, I was the number one trainer in the company. I quickly got a promotion and was moved to another location to have a corporate job as well as keep on training.
Mm.
And that mostly came down to I found this really important niche, and that was helping people with pain.
Okay.
And the way that came about is this. So you join a gym, they give you a meeting with a personal trainer. Personal trainer asks what you want, and everyone generally gives some version of, I want to lose the most fat possible and build the most muscle possible
Yes.
using the least amount of time possible. Yeah.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah. And while it is going to take time, there is an answer to that question of what kind of exercises get you the best results with the least amount of time. And they are compound exercises, things where you're using multiple muscles at once, big movements like squats and deadlifts and stuff.
Hmm.
And it's the type of stuff that like trainers want to give their clients to get them results because people are busy and want results. And a lot of times people come in the door and like we couldn't give them those exercises because their back hurt, their knee hurt, their shoulder hurt, things like that. And the way most of the trainers at the gym dealt with the problem was work around it. Kind of give them what exercises they could, anything they couldn't do, kind of use the machine for, and just kind of do it like that. And so I thought to myself, what if instead of working around the injury, we just fix the injury? And there was a trainer who became a mentor to me. His name was Mark, who was extremely influential on me. He passed, but I still talk to his parents occasionally. And he
Mm.
started teaching me kind of these techniques of kind of like self-massage, kind of stretching techniques, movement that were helping people get out of pain. And also I started referring clients to physical therapists and getting relationships with them. And I saw something that really touched me, which is if you have like a really good physical therapist, you'll
Uh,
sometimes send people to them, and in like 2 or 3 visits, they'll be like out of pain. And so I was seeing people who were like telling me about their pain, have like a prescription for Oxycontin, and I
mm.
send them to a physical therapist, and like 2 weeks later, I get a message like pain free. And that really affected me because I went to prison for selling oxycodone.
Mm.
Like I knew the story, and so many people have that story of like they heard something, they went to the doctor instead of treating it,
Yes.
wrote them a prescription for opioids, and their life falls apart.
Yeah.
And kind of seeing this, it really opened my eyes like, wow, the medical system could be doing a lot better.
Yeah.
And so I kept studying that, and eventually, independently, my clients and my coworkers and my mentors, all like people from all those groups sat me down, were like, you need to become a physical therapist, like you're too good at this. And kind of thinking about that made me think that this is something that I like need to do. And during this time, I was like every time I was making money, I was always reinvesting in my education, kind of different courses the physical therapist would recommend, different things that would help me. And one of them was a yoga certification. And during the yoga certification, there were exercises about healing relationships. And
Mm.
part of that involved me reaching out to my parents, and that's what brought kind of me and my parents back close together.
Oh, amazing. And so I'm curious, you reach out to your parents and you say, "Hey, I want to get back together. I'm in this course," or whatever you say. When did the conversation about Judaism come out and how did they take it?
Like pretty soon. I mean, so they took it very well. I mean, Baruch Hashem, they are again supportive of Israel. They believe there's a special place for the Jewish people in
Yeah.
Olam Haba. Of course, they would say, heaven because they don't use Olam Haba.
Yeah. Love that. And so how far into this journey did you decide to move to Israel?
So that takes us back to the training career.
Okay.
So then I've decided I want to become a physical therapist, which is one of the most frightening decisions that I ever made. because I was always bad at school. Like I
Mm,
graduated high school with like a 2 point something GPA. I failed out of college. I had like learning disabilities, like school was not my thing. And I did the research and found out at that time that physical therapy schools were like more competitive than med schools and like needed
mm,
a lot of the same prerequisites. I mean, physical therapists are clinical doctors.
yeah.
That's the way the American system works. So I saw I'd have to go to school, get an undergraduate degree, do really hard courses, and do well enough to get into physical therapy school with a criminal record.
Mm,
And that was terrifying. But then kind of thinking back about this kind of mission of like using, movement instead of medication to heal problems is like the default. Like medication is appropriate in many instances,
yeah.
but like if like your back aches a little bit, the first thing shouldn't be painkillers. And we've come a long way since then. This is again me talking about the past. And I decided that I needed to go for it and put my all into becoming a physical therapist.
Mm,
So I go back to school full time while keeping my job at the gym. End up leaving the gym, opening my own personal training studio while still going to school full time. One of my clients is a member of the SWAT team. I ended up doing some consulting work for the SWAT team as well. So I'm running my own personal training studio while studying full time to get my exercise science degree, while studying to do my Orthodox conversion, while doing like consulting stuff
wow.
on the side. And Baruch Hashem, I was successful at all of them. It did take a toll on like my ability to have like relationships with other people and like free time, but I got straight A's. I did get three A minuses, which I'm still a little bit bitter about.
That's
I
good.
did
That's
great
good.
work, great work with the police department. My studio was successful, and I ended up getting into two of the top 10 physical therapy schools in the country,
Wow.
the University of Southern California and the University of Florida. And then I went and visited both schools. Again, both top 10 schools,
Yeah.
and I eventually decide on the University of Florida because, well, I was going somewhere warm. I was sick of the cold. I hate being cold.
Yeah.
And it
And now you live in
was
Israel, so you're good.
yeah.
And the heat's about to spring up on you hard. So
Yeah, no, it's 37 degrees tomorrow.
nice.
Yeah. And so I chose the University of Florida, even though they were lower ranked. They were like nine instead of number one. And the two things that made me choose them were one, it was significantly cheaper. And two, I remember sitting with the dean of the program and telling him about this plan of, changing the medical system to default to movement before medication to kind of improve outcomes. And he was like, this is the place for you, and like explained, like, based on his resume, how he could help me.
Mm,
And so I sent my denial letter to the University of Southern California and my acceptance letter to the University of Florida and was ready to go. And then I got a phone call. And it was someone from the University of Florida, and like asked like some like questions they already knew, like name, address, social. It happens like again a few days later. I'm like, what's going on? So I call them back and say, hey, you guys keep calling for information that you have already. Like, what's going on? And the person says that, oh, we're filling out your application. So I
mhm,
say, oh, no, I'm glad I called. I'm not filling out an application. I've been accepted. Here's my acceptance letter. And then she says, no, we're filling out your application to the university. The way that it works is that if you're accepted into a graduate program, you are automatically enrolled in the university,
mm.
unless you have a criminal record.
Oh,
If you have a criminal record, then you have to apply separately to go to the university. So I argue with her. I say like, oh, like I marked I was had a criminal record on the application. You said nothing about this. I turned down another school before accepting you. Like if I knew about this could have like if they don't have the same policy affected my decision. She
yeah.
says like it's policy. They can't do anything. I'm so upset. I'm so frustrated. I go talk to two close friends who happen to be lawyers, and they calm me down. And basically, the argument they make is this. They're like, look, it's not fair. It's not right. But take a breath and think about this. You were released early from prison for good behavior. You were released early off supervised release, which is the federal equivalent of probation, early for good behavior. You run a business. You have connections in the community. You're a consultant for the police department. You are a straight A student at a public university in the United States. Like another public university in the United States isn't getting your resume and saying he's a danger, he can't go to school here.
Yeah.
Like, jump through the hoops, it's policy, but like, there's no way that you're not going in.
Yeah.
So I jumped through the hoops, filled out all the paperwork, got, great recommendations, district attorney, police department, rabbi, kind of all the works. Put in my application and say, all right, we'll get back to you on a rolling basis. So then I'm like, what does that mean? And they're like, well, it means we'll answer you on a rolling basis. And I'm like, that's not like a date. Like, when will you answer me? So then
Yeah.
she says that a rolling basis means that we'll get back to you on whatever timeline we see fit. We're not obligated to get back to you on any timeline, just kind of when we get to it, we get to it, but you have to wait on us.
Yeah.
And so I start waiting. And a few days pass, and a few weeks pass, and I start getting emails for different things I'm supposed to do to register for the program because like it's coming up and I can't do them because my account's blocked. And then I've got to make these decisions about, ending my lease for the place I'm renting, closing down my business, which I move forward on based on my conversations with lawyers, like it's going to happen. And I
Yeah.
keep waiting, and I keep waiting. And it was actually worse than prison.
Sheesh.
And the reason for that was this. Even though my material circumstances were so much better, the injustice just felt so disgusting.
Mm.
Like every day I had to wake up and think about all the things I did wrong, and it was like, what do you want from me? Like, what could you possibly want from someone who's come out of prison to prove that they deserve a second chance than getting out for early behavior, becoming a straight A student, running a business, being a consultant for the police
Yeah.
department,
Doing
being
tough.
religious and active in my community. Like, what more could I possibly do? And it just every day was so painful. And during that time, I had some time to think about, like, what if it's no? Like, everyone's telling me it'll be yes, but what if it's no? And before I started my university degree, I did a birthright trip and
Mm.
just connected with the land and was like, if I don't go to graduate school, I'm just getting on a plane and moving to Israel. And eventually, months later, I found that I was not eligible for admission to the
Oh,
university, which
so
meant
sad.
I was still technically in the graduate program, but I couldn't register for classes, so I obviously didn't make it very far in the
Yeah.
graduate program and decided I was going to move to Israel. And I went and told my rabbi, and he said, great idea, but don't do that just yet. First, I want you to take a pilot trip because Birthright Israel and Yom Yom Israel are not exactly the same thing. Like they
Yeah.
definitely have an agenda. They're definitely showing you a thing. Like it's come on, it's a free trip to Israel.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not just doing it for free, and it's still a great program. I still love it, but if you want to see the other side before you move here permanently. So I planned a pilot trip, 2 months where I would study at a place called Pardes that my rabbi recommended.
Mm.
And I would like travel around Israel, see what the country's like, see if I really wanted to be here. And then if I really loved it, I would come back and then plan my aliyah. So I made the pilot trip, came, landed, started studying, met this very nice girl, started dating. The place where I was studying, Pardes, they ended up offering me a fellowship as a social justice fellow to stay for the year program.
Well,
And the girl I was dating was like, oh, like distances not good. Like you should just stay and see like how things work out. So I decided, oh, I've got something to do, and this relationship's going pretty well. I think I'll just stay for the year at Pardes.
Nice.
which was one of the most incredible years of my life. I ended up getting engaged to that girl a few months later. We're now living together in Beersheba with three wonderful children.
Amazing.
Learning
Amazing.
Torah full time for a year is such a blessing and such an incredible experience. And anyone who has the chance to do it, who never did it before, I just highly, highly recommend it, especially if you want to live a full Jewish life, because there's just so much to learn, so much to know, and just like having a year to immerse yourself. Like, I did so much catch up during that year with so many things that like weren't covered in a conversion that just like make it like feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And just Pardes is an amazing place. I'm still close with many of my teachers there.
Amazing. You know what's
And
beautiful is that like you talk a lot about discipline today, and you're still training people. It's what you're doing, and it
yeah,
shows in like the discipline of you wanting to become a Jew regardless of what was thrown at you. You know, being in prison, coming out of prison, halfway house, not being able to get jobs, all those types of things shows your dedication to what you do and who you are, which is amazing. And so,
thank you.
I know that you work with a lot of people today. Tell me, like, today you're training men essentially, or Jewish men, to just be healthier. Is that correct? You're still doing that.
Yeah. So today I run an online business helping Jews lose weight, get strong, and regain their mobility so they can live to be 120.
Love that. I've Stream, right?
Yeah.
And do you see a difference in? I mean, did you just choose Jewish men because obviously you're Orthodox and you're in Israel, or was it like this passion of like I want to help Jewish men become healthier?
So there are two. So I don't do just men. I do kind of Jews. But the
Okay.
reason why I did um, Jews in particular is there are so many unique challenges that kind of
Mhm.
have to be considered.
Yeah.
So, yes, like we're all human beings. We all have pretty much the same biology, but like try explaining to your trainer your Shabbat meal problem that happens every single week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I know that like people get fat over the Christian holidays in the United States between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
But how many like obligatory feasts are there? There's Thanksgiving, there's Christmas. Compare that to 2 days of Rosh Hashanah.
Pesach, which is just destroys you.
Yeah.
Then Shavuot, and then this, and then that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
kind
Love
of
it, man.
dealing, yeah, the Jewish calendar kind of it's easy to think about the secret to, whatever your fitness goal is, whether it's losing weight, getting strong, having more energy, is like a technical problem.
Mhm.
And in some sense, it is a technical problem because there's like things you have to do, but that is like really well known and easy to do. The hard part about getting in shape is figuring out the psychology, the mindset, and how you can fit those actions that get you fit into the
Mhm.
framework of your rest of your life and do them consistently enough for them to work. And another reason why I love working with Jews is because it allows me to show the parallel between that and living a strong Jewish life and
Mm.
how the same skills apply to both.
Love that.
I always remember one of the times this really hit home for me. This was back when I was still in Baltimore. I was working with a woman who was a doctor, and we're talking about her diet, and she's like, "Ah, I failed my diet again. I just have no self-control." And so I look at her and say, "You are a medical doctor. You did not get through med school because you have no self-control. Like
Yeah.
you got challenges, you're having problems applying yourself right now, but like your ability to do like hard things and to say no to stuff, like it's there." And this is a conversation I have over and over with Jewish men in particular. Well, they'll be like, just like doing kind of like the same thing every day, kind of like feels like a drag. How do I like motivate myself to do something like that?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, all right, well, let's talk about how you motivate yourself to put on tefillin to say
Every
the
single day.
exact same words every
Yeah.
day. And they'll be like, no, like it's different because, and like, It's not really that different.
Yeah.
Kind of, there are these actions, there are these instructions. You go through the steps and you expect some sort of outcome. The outcome might be not be super clear. It might not be super well defined, but you know, kind of if you act in these ways, these type of evolutions start happening in you. And the question is, how can you sit down and do it, not just once, not just twice, but make that commitment?
Mm.
And the same type of commitment that we make to Hashem in Jewish practice, whatever our kind of denomination, whether it's Orthodox, Reform, Conservative, like if you're living a Jewish life, Judaism is a religion about actions.
Mm.
You know, you can't pray with your mouth closed. It has to move.
Yeah.
Things have to happen. And fitness is the same way. You show up and you do it, and things change. You slowly shift. And it can't be this just like, oh, I wake up and I pray when I feel motivated. You need to wake up and pray on days you don't feel motivated so that you're building that skill and accumulating those reps so you know how to talk to Hashem when you need to.
Mm.
The same thing happens with your fitness.
Love that. And I think that's one word that comes up is like you choose, right? Like you chose Judaism. You chose to be fit. You chose to be disciplined. And once you make the choice, which I do leadership development for business, and my number one rule is that you have to choose to be a leader. Once you choose to be a leader, the actions that come after that need to be in alignment with leadership.
Yeah, and they feel natural.
Yeah,
Again,
100%.
I don't like changing diapers, but when I had my first child, like when there's a diaper to be changed, one of us two's got to do it. And I
Yeah,
changed
yeah,
a lot of diapers, and it's not like the thing I was excited for, but like stepping into that identity, there's some things about it you will love. There's some things about it you'll just kind of get through because they're necessary maintenance. But as long as you connect it to that bigger vision and the greater whole, you have the ability to be like, "Ah, I don't feel like doing this, but I'm gonna go do it anyway."
I love that. Let me ask you this question, David. When people work with you, how does it work? Are you meeting with them once a week? Do they have an app? Like, how do they stay consistent and held accountable to you?
So there are three pillars of my program. We have the exercise, the eating, and the engagement. The exercise I handle with an app which I use to monitor my clients and deliver them their workouts. It's not my own app. I pay someone else
Yeah,
for the app. And the reason I like it is because I can, on the back end, customize the workouts. So, like,
gotcha.
I shoot my own workout videos, I put my own workouts, I can put in exactly as many exercises as I need, I can change the set and the reps. And what that allows me to do is, in conversation with the person, to build a custom program which fits the equipment they have,
Hmm.
the amount of time that they have, and the goals they want to achieve.
Gotcha.
People like to think that like the trick to the perfect exercise plan is to like go pull it off the shelf somewhere and follow it. But really, we want to adapt something to you.
Yeah,
Because again, you have the time you have the equipment you have the exercise skills you have. And if we customize it to you, we don't have that confusion, which becomes a barrier, which stops people from getting going.
yeah,
And also, the app updates me in real time so that I'm every day tracking whether you're doing your workouts and your other activities like your walks or your yoga, your Tai Chi, whatever it is that we're working on.
nice.
The
Love it.
second pillar of the program is the eating. The eating we handle through two ways. One is a eating audit, where we look at what you're actually eating. And the way we do that is you send pictures to me over WhatsApp throughout the day as you're eating. And that tells me what times you're eating and the conditions around what you eat. Are
Mm.
you on plates? Is it fast food? Are you eating out of bags? Kind of, these are all things that people think don't matter, but these are the habits and the environmental changes that most people need to change unless they want to learn how to really strictly count calories. Like
Yeah.
if you want to like do the calorie math, like calorie math works. Like it's science, like gravity is science. Like if we
Yeah.
record it, but then the strictness of that and the rigidity is not what most people want or need. Again, if you want to be 4% body fat, it's what you want to need. But I'm a 40-year-old male. I maintain around 10% body fat. I don't count calories. I just look at my portions, and I've got good habits around food and exercise regularly. And I've been
Yeah.
doing that consistently for decades. And then we also in the app track habits. Now that we have got the food audit, which shows us what you're eating, now we've got the specific habits that we use to make those results. In general, we're trying to do it in a two-phase process. Phase one is get the right nutrients into your body. Most people skip this phase, and it's the reason why so many people fail. They start dieting and they start focusing on all the things they should not be eating. Before we talk anything about what you should not be eating, we need to get enough nutrients in you, which is enough fruits and vegetables and enough lean protein. If you're trying to cut down your carbs and you're not eating enough good, wholesome food, like the fruits and vegetables, you'll be able to white knuckle it for a short period of time, but
Yeah.
over the long term, your body needs calories, it needs nutrients, feed it first. Once we've got enough good stuff coming in, now we can start looking around our habits around the bad stuff and limiting it in ways that you see the progress while still getting to enjoy Shabbat,
Mm.
enjoying Simchas. We don't want to, give up pizza forever. Pizza's my favorite food. I love pizza.
Yeah. Love that, man. Very,
And
very cool.
then the last element of the program is engagement, and that's kind of the coaching aspect. And I do that through two platforms. One is WhatsApp, where many of my clients, especially early on, were talking every day on WhatsApp so we can work through things in real time. One of the problems with in-person training is I see you once a week, maybe twice a week. And then the next, 72 hours, you have no help, no support. I can't answer your messages because I'm training other clients. But with this format, I'm able to answer all my clients on WhatsApp every single day, any question, well less than 24 hours to talk through it in real time. And then also through Zoom calls, where just like right now, we can face to face kind of talk through what's going on. And a lot of times that's where the magic happens. Like it's
Yeah.
not the weights and the reps in the gym, it is talking through it so you can have those, realizations that make you change how you view food, how you view exercise, so you can start consistently doing the things you need to do to get the body and the energy that you want.
Love it, man. I've got a question for you. This has
Shoot.
been amazing, by the way. And again, the word that keeps popping up for me is choice and choosing. What would you say to the man, the audience who's listening? Some men are only choosing spirituality and they're overweight. Some men are just super fit and not choosing spirituality. Some are choosing, work over their home life. What would you tell the man who's listening today who wants to choose it all, right? But is having trouble? What's the first step that they can take to make that choice stick?
The first step I personally took to make that choice stick was writing it down. There are power in words. Just take a second, kind of whether it's in a notes app on your phone, piece of paper in a notebook. I still have on the shelf somewhere the notebook where I wrote out a detailed life plan of everything I wanted when I was in prison.
Mm.
And it's not what my life looks like today. But one of my favorite pieces of knowledge to share with people. If I remember correctly, this comes from General Dwight D. Eisenhower, is that no battle was ever won according to plan,
Mm.
but no battle was ever won without a plan.
Love that.
Write it down, make a plan, start chasing it. And if it doesn't work out, you might get something even better. I sat down, I wrote the plan, I decided to become a physical therapist in America. I did everything I could to make that happen. The dream was still taken from me, but a lot of the things I did during that time set the foundation for successful things once I moved to Israel. and I couldn't have seen that back then.
Yeah.
If you honestly take the time to define what you want, figure out why you want it, and start working towards it, you might not get there, but I promise you, you will get somewhere that is absolutely incredible.
Love that, brother. David, thank you so much for being on the show. As I always tell everybody who comes on, may you be blessed with strength and courage. Chazak v'amas, keep doing
Amen.
what you're doing. Thank you for the
Amen.
time. And for those of you who are listening, stay tuned for the next episode of the Tribesmen podcast.